And welcome to the Security Guy and CIA Spy Pod Broadcast. I am Robert Tusiliano, the Security Guy, and this is...
The CIA Spy, Peter Warmka.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure you're Peter Warmka? You sure you're not like some AI face overlay?
No, I'm consistent for this podcast at least. This podcast always Peter Warmka. Other ones I can't confirm or deny. How are you doing, Robert?
What's up, buddy? Nice to see you. I'm good. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm a tad overwhelmed. I got too much going on, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I've got this pod broadcast, which I love doing. I've got a ton of business. Q1 of 2025 is the best quarter I have had in 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 years. It's been amazing and it's awesome, but for all the wrong reasons, because the wrong reasons being that fraud is so high, it's so bad. Company CEOs, CIOs, CSOs, security managers are freaking out because AI has made it so that fraud is scaling at a level where none of them are prepared for. Right. Phishing simulation training isn't doing what it's supposed to do or what they want it to do. The CIO is overwhelmed, the CTO is overwhelmed, and they need us. And that's what's happening for me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And it's fortunate for us, but unfortunate that things are getting that bad. But I think we're seeing only the beginning. It's going to continue to get increasingly messy here, I think, for a while.
So what I wanted to discuss today is really just one topic, Peter. Mm-hmm. I got a call from a financial services professional that I do business with down in Florida. And, he's got this whole book of business. He's got all these clients, moneyed, mostly seniors, 55 plus, but mostly like 65 to 85. Like, mm-hmm. they're my dad's age and a little bit older. And he called me because one of his clients, a couple, male and female, the husband got an email thinking that it was like a wrong number type email type text like hey, who's this type of deal, and he responded, and when he responded, it led to an engagement that went over the course of 3 months. Investments that he began to make in what he thought was crypto, and ultimately thinking that him and his wife investing $600,000 over the course of like 3 months, that they made $2.2 million. When he went to cash out, that turned into zero, nothing. He got nothing. The pig was effectively slaughtered. The pig was butchered. Him being the pig.
Yeah. We are hearing more and more of these things. This is not an isolated case. Sounds like a very typical, unfortunately.
Peter, this pig butchering thing, right? Pig butchering is a term used to describe a sophisticated and long-term scam that combines elements of romance scams, catfishing, and cryptocurrency investment fraud. The name originates from the analogy of fattening up a pig before slaughter, as scammers carefully build trust with victims over time before stealing their money. This scam is also referred to as sha zu pan, in Chinese meaning killing pig plate or killing pig game.
So is it safe to say that this originates? I mean, there's probably other copycats, but that the original concept originates in China, Chinese criminals?
Well, if you do a quick search on where does pig butchering originate from, or where is it happening from, most of the research points to Thailand. where humans are being trafficked, meaning that humans are essentially being held against their will. The sex trafficking involved, but in this case, they're doing the scamming under organized crime.
Yeah.
They don't have much of a choice. The
Right.
victims who are being trafficked, it's basically forced labor, and they're taught a series of skills. They're taught how to use artificial technology. They're essentially, behind lock and key. They're on compounds that have, 12, 14-foot fences with barbed wire on top of it. They're provided food and in a place to live, but they don't have any choice in the matter.
Right.
And so when my client contacted me, freaking out because his client became a victim of this scam, and my client has relationships with all of his clients, like there is people. They're like his big family.
Yep.
He's been very upset by it. And so he brought me down and to speak to all of his people, and got a bunch of my books and all that stuff. And the fact that did I say that his client is on suicide watch?
Wow. No, he haven't.
Yeah.
This is emotionally devastating as well.
The client, the couple, the husband on suicide watch, like they're looking at going bankrupt now. They can't pay their bills. They can't pay their mortgage. Like they are a mess. And it's happened on the tail end of their life. They think they have enough money to live, the rest of their lives. They're both in good physical health, but this has destroyed them mentally and emotionally because it's destroyed them financially.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to get that money back.
Money's gone.
Yep.
Now, up until a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, like everybody else, when those wrong number text messages come in, my strategy has been report spam, block, done. I've got time for this. I've been responding to these text messages, Peter, and I don't like what I see. I don't like what I see because I have come to an understanding now that this is it. You and I are going to see this get a heck of a lot worse, and here's why. Here's what I understand. So the viewing, listening audience may already be privy to some of this, and you may be as well. And this is the root of it. There's a couple things. Number one, there is a transfer of wealth that is occurring right now between basically the baby boomers and the greatest generation. Those basically like 70 to like 95, that age group, that they understood compound interest, they understood investments and so forth, and their money just went up over the course of their lifetime. Okay. And now they have $500,000, they have $1 million, they have $5 million to their name because they did it right. And so they retired and they're living in, either a house that they own that's worth $1 million or $2 million, or they're living in a retirement community that they may own, or that they're even paying $5,000 to $10,000 a month in. But at the same time, they still have a tremendous amount of money in the bank.
Yeah, they're comfortable.
They're very comfortable. That transfer of wealth is equated to about $85 trillion. Do you understand that? $85 trillion going from the baby boomers and the greatest generation to basically my generation, Gen X, Gen Y, and in the grandkids, Gen Z. And that baby boomer / greatest generation, and no offense to any of them, but the truth is that they're cognitively declining, and they are just that much more trusting than really any other generation. And just because of the way they were raised. On top of it, they have all this money, And they're not as technically savvy as any other generation for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
It is the perfect situation for AI-driven fraud that scales the robocalls, the robo emails, the robo text messages to millions and millions of people. So when you receive that text message, I'm sorry, who's this? I lost my phone.
Yeah. All the time. Several a day. Mm-hmm.
98% of the population sees that text message and they're like, delete. All they need is that 2% of the population to respond for the next 20 years until that transfer of wealth is done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're looking at right now. We're looking
That's
at
true.
the cognitively declining, wealthy population that's not technically savvy being targeted. Everybody's being targeted, but they're the ones that are responding.
Yeah. True.
And so my client, whose client lost 600,000, that's becoming the new norm. Now, in your life and in my life, like 10 years ago, had you heard of an individual that lost $100,000 in fraud? A single person that lost $100,000 in fraud 10 years ago?
No, not really. I mean, no.
5 years ago? Maybe.
But now it's just like there's a what do you call it, like a force multiplier. It's these people can reach out to anybody. I mean, with the technology today, with the phone, I mean, it's just there's a big target pool, and the means of communication are so much more vast.
Yeah.
So
check it out, right? Look at this right here. Okay, so this is part of the presentation that I'm delivering right now.
Okay.
Wrong number text scams. Okay, that's what this fundamentally, like if you were to coin what this is, it's wrong number text scams. Okay, what it leads to is various forms of fraud: pig butchering, romance scams, you name it. Okay, gift card scams, like they're all over the place. But wrong number text scams lead to whoever responds engaging that person in a variety of ways. Okay, so for example, this came in March 26th, 5:22 p.m. to me, to my number, that's 617, and at the end, 1870. That is one of the phone numbers that I possess. Okay. Can we chat for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
100% of the time, that gets deleted, marked as spam, the whole thing. No more. I'm responding now. And when I did, my response is about what? As you see in green. Okay. Mm-hmm. You're talking to Isla. Who are you? And that's Isla. Isla is beautiful by all standards. Mm-hmm. Isla has my attention. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now I did some basic searches, reverse searches on Isla, and her photograph at least, with certain online tools that do biometric facial recognition. And what I've determined is Isla, or at least this photo, is a likeness of a Russian model. Mm-hmm. To the best of my ability, that's what I've determined. Or at least this is what Russian models look like. Mm-hmm. But there's one or two Russian models out there that this could be Isla, like pretty close, or if it's her. Mm-hmm. I don't know that this is AI because I've done the same search for this particular photo and it's coming out as a legit person. I'm pretty sure it's a Russian model. So my response to "you're talking to Isla, who are you?" is, "My name is Rick. Wow, you're pretty." My online persona is now Slick Rick. Okay.
Your alter ego.
Yeah. So Isla now responds, "Rick, it is great to meet you. I'm from Coral Gables, Florida. Where are you from? And thank you for the compliment." Now, this is the last communication that I've received from Isla where she's called me Rick. Since 3 weeks ago, since that time, every single communication, she refers to me as dear. Now, I haven't challenged her on that. Meaning, like, I haven't said, do you know my name? Because my goal is to further the scam. I'm not interested in challenging Isla
Right.
here. I just want to like get to the bottom line.
Mm.
But every single time she addresses me as dear,
Mm.
DEAR, which is the universal, like, I care about you.
Yeah.
And I think it's also much easier to copy and paste all of the correspondence as dear, not having to remember people's names.
Exactly. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's just one of like, the things that I've observed in this. Okay.
Mm.
And to kind of like, take you down to, where we at and, what has corresponded over the past 3 weeks. I don't want to like belabor the whole thing, but I want to like, show you some of the highlights. So after within like the first couple of hours, I asked her, again, I want to further the scam. What do you do for work? And my question is, are you a model or something? Just small talk and stating the obvious. And her response is, and this is within 2 or 3 texts, I run a skincare company and invest in gold, block crypto and bonds. What do you do for work? Bang. Right off the bat. Invest in gold, block crypto and bonds.
That's aggressive.
Yeah. She's already setting the tone. Okay. And my response is a BS. I run a small construction company, have about 12 to 14 employees and a few subcontractors that I work with. She says, that's interesting. I've been in the industry for 10 plus years. How long have you been in your field? And I said, since I was 19. And then my response is, skincare and crypto. Those are 2 pretty different professions. At my age, I need help in both. Okay. So, we talk about how old we are, when we were born. And she sends me this picture of her, as you can see down here, sitting in looks like some type of a lounge, where she is a healthy 40-year-old, very attractive, and she's got my attention. I mean, that's the whole point of it, right?
Yeah.
And as we progressed over the weeks, we moved to WhatsApp within a couple of hours of communicating. Like, get rid of the text. Let's go right to WhatsApp, which from what I can see is because WhatsApp is, well, I think in the end, it would make it a lot harder for law enforcement to get access to WhatsApp and who's on the other end of WhatsApp than via SMS or iMessage.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like it's much easier to say subpoena Apple and get access to Apple's, iMessage versus or AT&T's, SMS versus WhatsApp, which is encrypted. It's owned by Facebook, but it's a whole nother animal. Mm-hmm. That's why they moved to WhatsApp. Plus the fact that they're completely overseas, and it just allows them to more freely communicate with us here. It's also cheaper or really even free. At least I think it boils down to they can hide better with WhatsApp. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I hear that's typical of a lot of the scammers, whether it's pig butchering or something else, that they typically will meet you on one platform, let's say, even some of these dating platforms, when they'll get you onto WhatsApp real quickly. They want to get off those platforms.
Yeah. So what you're looking at now on the screen here is this is our communication. This is what we do. She reaches out to me, and I say she because, I mean, Isla is, for all intents and purposes, a she. But it's likely like a bot that's being managed by probably men that have a number of other men and women held captive under human trafficking conditions, okay? But and it certainly could be women that are responsible for the human trafficking as well. But let's just say, I just keep referring to her as a woman. Here, she sends me pictures of her grocery shopping. Like, that's the dialogue. Good morning, dear. How are you today? I hope you slept well. Today, I'm having yogurt and granola for breakfast. What are you having for breakfast, dear? And then she says, I'm going food shopping later on this afternoon. I'm probably going to have dinner with my girlfriends tonight. What are you doing this evening? and like sending me pictures of her groceries, letting me know what she's had for dinner. And by the way, like she has steak and vegetables 7 nights a week. Because I think that like in Thailand, they think that like us rich Americans eat steak 7 nights a week.
Mhm.
I think there's like this cultural misunderstanding of what we are over here,
Mhm.
and that like we just eat steak 7 nights a week. That's just like what she has said, like is just which is funny to me.
Yeah.
But like the dialogue is, and I don't know if this is a word. It's all mundaneness. It's just mundane. It's just like 6 to 8 to 10 times a day. How are you? What are you up to? This is what I'm up to. What do you got going on? This is what my week looks like. Like pictures of her grocery shopping.
Mhm.
She's actually sent me video of vacuuming the apartment. Like basic.
Mhm.
So you tell me, Peter, what is the point and purpose of all this mundane dialogue? You tell everybody.
Well, it's engaging basically your trust. I mean, you're seeing this. Hey, this is a normal person, and she's sharing all the information about her day. And I feel now that maybe I should also share more information about myself. It's kind of like building up that relationship. And they do it usually they do it over a longer period of time. They put a big investment. I mean, some of these things, my understanding is that it can go for not just days; it can go for weeks or months, or even maybe into a year or so. If the pig is big enough, if it's going to be big enough, right? Make it worthwhile to them.
That's it. It's all about rapport, and like you said, it's all about trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and I believe, and I'm sure that 2% that responds, that isn't as technically savvy, that those same people, or at least some of them, or a good portion of them, might also be experiencing loneliness.
Absolutely,
Okay?
I agree with you.
So
That's a fact.
loneliness, I think, is a big part of the victim profile. Because if you are feeling lonely, if anybody's feeling lonely for that matter, that loneliness only can be fixed by displacing it with companionship of some kind. As a social creature who is, on an island of one, who is feeling lonely, who now is social and becomes an island of two, and that loneliness begins to dissipate because of the islas of the world. That relationship that is now fostered due to that rapport and that building of trust. Now my focus becomes Isla and what she's doing today and the dialogue that we're having. And as my loneliness dissipates, I begin to now trust Isla in ways that I wouldn't normally trust anyone for that matter.
Yeah. And you said that person would never hurt me. That person would never scam me. I mean, right? My person's my friend. Where we share intimate information, details about our days.
Exactly. And she's harmless and she cares
Mm.
about me. And this is really important. So do you see the emoji where she's like doing this thing? I had to actually ask my daughter, like, what is that? And she's like, oh, she's wondering, and she's wondering because she had sent me this text message with the photo at 8:03 p.m. and I hadn't responded for a couple of hours. And so she's wondering, like, why haven't I responded? All right. And so I respond with, OMG, I'm so tired. Last few days, my team has worked their butts off, my contractors, my construction guys. And I ask, do you have time for a video chat tomorrow? Which we had a video chat. I'm going to talk about that. And she said, sure, we'll talk tomorrow on a video call. And then she says, while you're at work, working those long hours, make sure to take care of yourself too. I know you've been working hard enough and skipping meals and not eating on time. Just don't forget to keep an eye on your health as well.
She's concerned about you.
Peter,
don't die before she gets the money.
Peter, that concern, that's exactly what somebody who's feeling lonely needs
Oh, yeah.
in order to not feel lonely.
Mm-hmm.
there is no better way to build trust than to show care and concern.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think it's important for everybody to understand here is like in this dialogue, there has been little to no flirtation, meaning like Isla has not really made much or any effort whatsoever to like make it romantic.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's been no real like innuendo or any sexuality. Like there's been no flirting, nothing, none of that. Like it's all care and concern. That's it.
Think about it. I mean, let's go back to your client's client that they're a married couple. If Isla would be all of a sudden start to turn on, the charm and flirting, it might be like for this guy, maybe he would say, "Oh, I better cut this off because I don't like where this is going." Right? This is safe. This is safe.
Yeah. And y'all's moms and dads and aunts and uncles and those like 65, 75, 85, 95 that are like holed up by themselves or with their spouse and have a boatload of money in the bank and investments and aren't technically savvy. This is what is happening right now. And that $85 trillion that they have in the bank, these bad guys look at that and go, that's our money. We're getting that money. And that's what's happening right now. And let me show you a couple more things. So here we did a video call, Peter. After 6 days, Isla suggested a video call. I was astounded. I was like, she wants to do a video call with me. Like I'm thinking to myself, they'll never do a video call. Like they're just going to keep this thing like virtual, like on, WhatsApp for the rest of eternity. It's just going to be chat. I was like, video call, like that's going to like blow their cover.
Right. Yeah.
No, man. No. They suggested video call within 6 days. 6 days, Peter. So what?
Because they know that people are starting to question that, because a lot of times people say, well, why doesn't that person want to do video? That's a sure sign that there's a scammer. But now they're putting this out here to kind of like defeat that argument that people might have in their mind. Yeah, I like it. I mean, I like this. They're really a step ahead of us. They're really a step ahead.
Let me show you something. So a couple things. On the left side of the screen, that is the Isla that I communicated with.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the screen, I'm gonna hit play in a moment. That is a video that I recorded on my phone between me and Isla while I was driving. And to the right of the screen is the actual Isla, or the Russian model, who, from what I can tell, they took basically like they superimposed Isla's face on what's likely a Southeast Asian female who is a victim of human trafficking.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I hit play, right, you'll see the interaction. You'll see me in my car, and you see Isla in the middle of the screen. Her lips do move. Her face moves. Her eyes blink. That is not a completely AI-generated human. It is a human that has a superimposed overlay, a face overlay. And she talked to me, and we had dialogue. I mean, we went on for like 8-9 minutes while I was driving, and she showed care and concern. And as she spoke from the very beginning of the conversation, Isla has always posed as a woman who was born, or a child who was born in Australia.
Yeah.
And that she moved to the US, late in her teens to go to college, to move and live with her Auntie Smith, who's an IBM executive in San Francisco. And when Isla started talking to me, she was like southeastern Taiwanese, Chinese. Like her voice was heavy. Like this is no Australian woman at all. So they didn't even bother using AI to convert her voice to any accent that was anything other than her real voice, which was
Because that capability now is readily available. They could easily do it.
But they didn't. They didn't. So when I asked her, like, oh, your voice, you sound like you're Southeast Asian. And she's like, well, actually, and she BS'd me on the spot. Well, actually, my parents are Irish, both Irish from Ireland, and they moved to Australia when I was young, as if she has an Irish accent. It was like, I didn't even challenge it. You know, my brother-in-law is Australian. My brother-in-law is Australian. I know the Australian accent. I mean, Crocodile Dundee. We know the Australian accent. It didn't matter to the scammers that she had a Southeast Asian accent. All that mattered was, up to this point, the dialogue was mundane. She was building trust. I was compelled to have a video call with her. They felt that video would solidify the deal. And here we are. And since that time, she's asked me to, she's shown me the money that she's making in crypto, which is like 19%, and has walked me through the process of downloading the Coinbase app and the crypto.com app. And through screenshots back and forth, has walked me through the process of setting up the app and connecting my bank account to it. Now, I've already done all these things on my own because I have a crypto account and I have investments. But I did it on a different device and sent screenshots and walked through the process and showed her everything because I want to go down the rabbit hole with these sociopaths. And over time, we haven't quite got there, is that, we are going to be making some investments because here, Maryland woman loses millions in crypto pig butchering scam as FBI warns of more targets. The scammers, frequently based in Southeast Asia, slowly gain the trust of their targets and then convince them to give money to buy cryptocurrency. Peter, like, companies don't necessarily have this problem right now, but our senior populations do. But you know who also has this problem is municipalities. And the municipalities have this problem because it's their constituents, it's their residents, it's their people. It's the town's people that have this problem. And as this problem grows, those towns are going to be faced with more and more liability because their people aren't going to be able to pay their water bill, their electric bill, their gas bill, their taxes. The municipalities are the next ones to bear the burden besides the actual public.
And I mean, just think about the families, though. That, is it one? Is it the husband or is it husband and wife? But then what about their kids and their grandkids? That maybe, if they wouldn't have lost this money, they had already money predestined to help their kids or grandkids going through college or maybe buying their starter home, whatever, and that's all gone.
All gone.
Families impacted. The whole family.
Yeah, Peter. It's going to get bigger and bigger. They're going to make more and more money. They want that $85 trillion. And they know they've got 10, 15 years to get it all. One thing that I was very surprised to find out is that, do you know that the FBI is calling and emailing potential victims of this crime?
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know that either. It was brought to my attention in a news report. And the FBI, since January of 2024, is actually picking up the phone and actually calling people who they suspect as being victims of pig butchering. And they're actually emailing people who they suspect as being victims of pig butchering. And
you think that's because of family members that are like contacting the FBI and say, listen, I'm really concerned about what my father's doing or whatever? I mean,
no, because in the interviews that I've watched of FBI officials talking about it, they've said we, being the FBI, have access to sophisticated technologies that give us that information. I think, and I don't know, but I think that the FBI is tapped into WhatsApp. I think the FBI has backdoor access to WhatsApp, and I'm guessing on purpose, meaning that they're allowed to do so or they were given unfettered access.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Mark flippin' Zuckerberg that controls the reins of that. It's his company. So I would imagine that the FBI has backdoor access to WhatsApp. And I wouldn't be surprised if they have backdoor access to Yahoo, AOL, and Gmail as well for this specific purpose. Like I would not be surprised at all.
Well, it's quite an effort, and I mean, I hope that they're at least being successful in being able to reach out to people that are going to listen. Yeah. Once people are kind of like caught up in this, though, they don't really listen to anybody.
Well, that's it. Even with the interviews that I've watched with the FBI, they've even said when we interacted with potential victims, the victims were like, no, this is real. Like, this is actually happening. Like, this person I'm talking to is not lying to me. Like, they were in denial. Like, they did not believe the FBI agents at all. Like, they were reciting all of the verbiage that the scammer was, filling their heads with. And, they were completely bamboozled. And the FBI was like, no, trust us. Like, we're the good guys here. Like, you are losing money. Like, trust us. And in a million years, I would never believe that the FBI would be making phone calls or emails to the public, because government doesn't do that.
Right. That really impresses me.
And they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's out of control, and the FBI has got backdoor access, or I think backdoor access to WhatsApp on purpose to mitigate this fraud. Like, that's how desperate they are.
What I think that we need to see more of, and I think maybe would be more wake people up who are potential victims, is actually more testimonials, video testimonials showing, like, for example, this couple. This is how it happened. This is the impact. This is how I feel. This is this has changed my life is over, in their minds, right? It's even to the point of wanting to take their own lives. I mean, if they showed that type of testimonials, that maybe would help resonate a little bit more. I don't know, but a lot of people want to talk about it, of course.
Yeah, so they actually do have victims of that, and one of them is this woman from Maryland that I spoke to, who I can tell has been doing the rounds at the behest of the FBI, because she's been featured as the victim of the $3 million pig butchering scam, and how she talks about how, losing the money is losing the money, but the humiliation, the shame, the disappointment of my family, right, like all of that is more hurtful than losing the money.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd feel that way. I think that I'd be more hurt about the money than the actual shame of it. I mean, that's just me.
It's like, we're talking about 3 million, especially, right?
3 million. Like, I suppose it's all relative. Like, if you've got 30 million, 3 million isn't that big of a deal. But $3 million to me, I mean, I think I'd be on suicide watch.
Yeah.
Because like, that's everything. Like, that's crazy to me. So, Peter, like, to be continued, brother.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. This is very, this level of detail is, it's really, really interesting, and it helps us better understand how their approach, why they're approaching the individuals that they are, and how this is actually working, unfortunately, how it's working in their, to their benefit, to the scammers' benefit.
Yeah. So I'm going to continue to go down that rabbit hole for y'all, for everybody watching or listening, and I'll let you know. And I actually I intend on investing in losing some money to essentially further the scam, to accomplish my research, to get the word out. Not a lot of money, but enough that I'm continually gaining Isla's trust.
Mm-hmm. So. Ask Isla if she has a sister.
Oh, she does.
Yeah, and you got a trip coming up. You're going to be traveling to Thailand. We're going to get together.
Oh man, actually, Coral Gables, Florida. She's not too far from you.
That is true. That's close to where I am.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell them you have a friend that wants to go down there and visit her and see what the response is.
See, but that's the thing. Like, I'm not even trying to trip her up. That's not the goal here. Like, I could trip her up instantly.
Yeah,
but that's not the goal here. The goal here is to act as if I am like that 2% that is lonely and is just looking for companionship and just wants to further the relationship. And that's really the entire goal here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But especially to me, the interesting part, because I've been following these type of things, but the fact that they were, wanted to do a video call, and how they're kind of accomplishing that, that's amazing.
Within 6 days.
I know.
Within a week. Yeah. That's AI for you, bro. We're for all intents and purposes screwed.
But you know what they're going to be doing also? The virtual assistants that you see online all the time. There are also the virtual assistants that can be voice virtual assistants, and they can deploy these now to have actual phone conversations with you and pretty much play the part of that. Whether it's a romantic interest or one of these friends. I mean, AI. This is the tip of the iceberg of what AI is going to empower them to do.
Yeah. So we've gone this is probably one of the longest pod broadcasts we've ever had, but I mean, it's
worth it.
Well, it's words of warning. Forewarned is forearmed, and it may not be you, ladies and gents. You may not be that potential victim of that potential fraud, but your moms and your pops and your aunts and your uncles and your 65 to 95-year-old cognitively somewhat declining over time, moneyed members of your community are the targets of this crime who are lonely. And they are spending big bucks when that loneliness dissipates and they feel better about their new friend.
Yep. We can all do our part in trying to help protect our loved ones from falling into something like this.
Our most vulnerable populations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, Peter, what are you up to? Where you at? How can they find you?
Oh, I just came back. Nice trip to Seattle, back in Orlando. And you can find me on counterintelligence-institute.com or my LinkedIn page. Always available. If you want to contact me for giving a presentation at your organization or a specialized workshop for your employees. Books available on Amazon, Confessions of a CIA Spy, and Why Are You Messing With Me?
Excellent, Peter. Good stuff. And I am obviously at protectnowllc.com. And like I said at the beginning of this pod broadcast, 2025 has been an amazing year so far. Again, for all the wrong reasons. But hey, I'll find another vocation if we can fix this whole thing. But meanwhile, we've got value to provide the general public. And, I think that, Peter, our messages are becoming loud and clear that people just trust way too much. And that phishing simulation is good, but it doesn't solve the problem, that they need live interaction in order to fix this thing. And that's where you and I come in.
Absolutely. Keep up the good fight.
Last words?
Stay safe. Take care of each other. And let's be fraud busters. Okay.
Let's be fraud busters. Talk to you later, brother.
Yep. Bye-bye.